All right, we are zooming here on VirginiaPreps.com with the head football coach of the Bayside Marlins. His team pitching a 34-0 shutout of the Kellam Knights on Friday at the Virginia Beach Sportsplex. If you're curious to go check that out, it's up on Facebook Live Archive. We've also got it up on our message forums as the guy that he succeeded as head coach, Darnell Moore, did the call with yours truly. We say hello to John White, head man of the Marlins, year 8 at the helm. Coach, congrats on the win last night. Had to feel good to get a shutout victory to move to 2-1. That's always better than dropping to 1-2.
Indeed, man. Thank you very much. Thanks for having me today.
Tell me about your squad. You open up with a convincing win over First Colonial. You lose to Cox in a game where I watched a good chunk of it, and it felt like you had good field position, fell behind, didn't feel like it was 34-0. And then conversely, you win this game 34-0. Might not have felt entirely like a 34-0 lead throughout, but you guys did a lot of good things, and you hold them to 13 yards in the second half. Your offense with the new guy at quarterback who previously played running back got the job done, and I think you come away with a lot of positives.
Yeah, I mean, you always want to try your best to find your resolve when things aren't going your way. You know, you want to see how well the kids can bounce back from any type of arduous situation, be resilient through them. And the first game, sloppy conditions out at FC. I mean, it field still held up well. And Tejan did well at quarterback for the first game. Aaron and the O-line did their job running the ball. So we were convinced that we had some good stuff going into the Cox game. And Cox, stacked with his staff and those very, very smart group of kids over there, hardworking kids over there at Cox. They were just slightly quicker, chomping to the bit than we were. Discipline would definitely get you in games. And, they were just very, very sharp with where they need to be at the right times. And, we had some errors up front. We had some errors at the quarterback position. And all those errors cumulatively messed us up. But we had one good week to fix everything. No bye week for us. One good week to fix everything. We met on Saturday virtually. Had some good talks on Monday. Got some virtual film in and everything like that moving through because we had to prepare for arguably the best middle linebacker, if not one of the second best defenders in the district, in Copeland, who is bigger than me right now. And he was flying, so he looked great on film versus Ocean Lakes. We knew that Kellam was coming off of a bye. So that worried us because it's like, all right, well, yeah, they lost, but it was a closer game. It was only 18-9. And we wanted to see if they were going to give us some other variations of the Delaware wing T. The quarterback that they have, number 4, throws the ball well. DeWitt and his brother, Mike DeWitt, and of course, Brian Neese over there. They've been running the ship, since, I think I was in 11th grade when they got that job, man. All those guys got together. So they know what they're doing. So to come through the way that we did yesterday with Aaron back there was great. It was great. It was definitely a team effort. I know it sounds corny and cliche, but it really, really was. And certain guys stepped up and made big splash plays, and other guys followed it up.
Yeah, I think you had 11 different defenders make tackles behind the line of scrimmage with a total of 6 stops there from Devin Jones, 3 apiece from Aiden Pick and Damian Rodriguez-Kirkland. And you mentioned one of the great players in the Beach defensively, Kamari Copeland, who's going to Army. He flipped from Navy to Army for Kellam. He had about 14, 15 tackles. And he would, if he had a full season, he'd be going after whatever tackle marks you set at Bayside before you went over to Hampton University in terms of Beach tackles. I mean, there's been some great linebackers over the years in the Beach. No joking. You were one. Trey Jones, who you had a couple years ago at Bayside, Lindell Gibson at Salem, and I think he's certainly cementing himself among some of those better stoppers. And of course, his older brother Stephen was a good one before he went on to Elon. But you mentioned something, and we'll get to your schedule and everything kind of packed in here, kind of unpack it a little bit. But quarterback spot, you're missing one of the guys unavailable to you that played in the 2019 season. So you're using a couple running backs back there in Tajon Reese. And then last night, Aaron Williams, who we spoke with via Zoom here a little bit earlier, he accounts for 4 touchdowns as Aaron, going to CNU. And he's very efficient, 9 of 17, 106 yards. It looked like the passing game might be a weakness for you guys, which is hard to believe at a school like Bayside with all the athletes you have. And last night, very good job from him. Tajon Reese catches a touchdown. He throws a 30-yard pass on a halfback pass, and then you utilize a guy who's becoming quickly one of my favorite players, tight end Lamar Law, for a couple of touchdowns as well. So you have a lot of different pieces. It's just kind of meshing them, getting them on the same page, kind of speak, or?
Yeah, I mean, with anything with a team concept, people need to accept their role, recognize that they might not be the lead singer that day. They might just be real good in the back with the cymbals or the, or the drums, so to speak. But sometimes when it's your time to do your solo, you need to do your job. So Lamar was kind of quiet on offense the first 2 games. That she was very quiet. He did a decent job blocking for us. But we knew that in certain spots, he's tough one-on-one. Just this size-wise, it's basically the law of gross physics right there. So that guy, he can do a decent job in some space given his size, and we knew that we can get some stuff going with him. Yesterday, we really didn't highlight Devin, but so much only because there were other things that were open.
Mhm.
And there was no need to kind of gamble or force anything. We see certain things and we utilize it simply, and we just attack it that way. Aaron he's a good choice back there at quarterback because he makes very good decisions, great practice habits. And of course, at that position, you want somebody that's going to give you a good work pace for your offense. You can get quality reps for preparation. And that's one thing that Aaron does for us, and of course, it's kind of staggering because people will make comments on his height and everything like that. But, he's extremely bright. I think he's probably about a 3.8 GPA. He has always been on the road since he's been at Bayside, been a humble kid. And then on top of that, he's a monster in the weight room. And he has very Yeah, so Aaron, he's a monster in the weight room. That kind of makes up for the other piece. Because when you throw the ball anyway, you throw it from the ground up.
Mhm.
So he makes good choices laterally because holes, they open up laterally. They don't open up like this. So he's able to sit and do some decent things. And of course, with his scrambling ability, at the end of the day, he's a running back. So if he's scrambling, he knows how to tuck that thing and make some stuff happen. So that's why we down the line knew that we could tie one on at the end and let him run one in from 13 yards out.
Mhm. You finished with 299 yards of offense, and there's still some things to work on. A couple turnovers, a lot of penalties, which I'm seeing in a lot of games. Watching Hampton Phoebus today as we record this on a Saturday, I'm running out of space on my sheets, and that's not to be critical of teams here. I think that's part of this not having your normal off season, and this is something I brought up to Coach Daryl Cherry at Kempsville on our radio show on ESPN 94.1 this morning. Coach, I'll throw it to you. Like, what's been harder, not knowing who all you're going to play? The schedule may change. I don't know if the Beach is going to adopt something where you're going to subtract this team and add this team, which I see the Bay River's doing. That, which is kind of taxing on the mind and everything. You don't play everybody. It's an uneven schedule. Or not getting those 2 scrimmages, which are so essential for a sport like football to get ready into game 1 mode and what you guys do for that marathon of a season. Although it's not really a marathon this year. It's kind of a sprint.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny that you say that it's a sprint because we always say it's a marathon because if you try to sprint this thing, ironically enough, we always equate it or metaphorically equate it to if you don't, pace yourself just right, you're going to injure yourself. So therefore, if you don't treat it like a marathon, you're going to mess something up. So you can put your all in 1 week and mess yourself up, and mess yourself up for the following week. But that's just one piece of it. But the other piece, when you look at the fact that you don't have those 2 scrimmages, you look at some alignment, assignment, execution aspects that can kind of mess you up. We made certain aspects of practice where we would do 45 straight minutes of special teams just because we wanted to make sure that things worked well for us. And in our first 3 games, we've had a kick return and a punt return. And we had some very, very good field position situations in the first 3 games because of that emphasis. And so you gotta, I know that we're structured only to have 2 hours of practice. So you really have to, be be respectful to the clock on that and go by structured practice to make that happen. So I would say that not having the first 2 scrimmages is the part that kind of hinders us because you definitely want to see what other guys can do once you put the pads on, just in the third, and let them get loose with it and find out who might not be a starter, find out who could be a starter for you. You always find that stuff out, or who can be a good role player for you. Well, now we didn't have that, so we just really had to get things going within ourselves, know our personnel, find a pulse of our personnel, establish that culture to fix our 3-7 season from 2019 and move forward.
Yeah, you hit on that for a moment. I mean, first losing season for Bayside in a long while, and it really was a year where your defense came out really strong. I even heard from one of the coaches in Richmond through the grapevine. I saw one of your, I think, scrimmage tapes, and someone said, "Man, that's got to be one of the best defenses in the 7-5-7." And it kind of the note back that someone said, to them was, well, they're one of many, because you know how it is, how tough this area is with so many talented teams. And even in the Beach District, you see Salem with the streak they're on under Coach Wilson, and Ocean Lake's traditionally a strong team defensively. And we're watching some teams on the rise here with Princess Anne and Green Run in Class 5. I know you got P8 coming up in a couple of weeks, and you can't look past Landstown, who's been very consistent the last few years, making the regional semifinals in Region 6A. But kind of having a long off season, I mean, this is kind of a twofold question. For basketball, you kind of, some of these kids are on that bubble of D1, D2. Football, it's kind of by junior year. If you don't get those opportunities, they're kind of turning the page to 2022 here. How have you handled it you've got some quality football players at all levels, whether they're seniors, juniors, sophomores, freshmen, you can highlight a few of them, but how have you kind of tackled the recruiting process, knowing that some they've moved past these seniors, but there's still some good available players out there in the senior and junior classes for high school football?
I think that for our seniors, they've all have accepted the circumstance.
Mm-hmm.
They recognize that the opportunity to play is a blessing, simple as that. They haven't sat there and tried to make any type of business decisions or nothing like that. They want some security for the future. Yeah, they definitely want to make sure that the parents can plan and they can plan as well, for what they want to do as far as, being a functioning adult down the line, so they've accepted those circumstances and they keep on working. They know that the film right now will still help them, whether it's going to be prep school or Division II that might help them in a second or anything like that. So, or even junior college. So all of our guys, they're not bummed about it. They're not, disappointed in the circumstances. They simply accept them because they know that any type of dark circumstance can bring it to the light later on. Anyway, you appreciate them because it's going to make you stronger. So they haven't taken it as like, oh, woe is me and get bitter. They didn't do that. So I'm very proud of how they take it.
Mm-hmm. Last two questions for, and I thank you for coming on with us here. Kishon Hawks gets a punt return. You mentioned about Leon Griffin, the first game. I think he's a sophomore for you with a kick return. Special teams, that third aspect and phase of the game, it feels like, I don't know if I'll go as far back to that 2010 team that won the regional championship with Anthony Cooper taking one back to the house for you guys to win a regional title, but it can help you in a close game. And we're seeing it not just in your games, but other games all across Tidewater here, the state, and the Beach District for that matter.
Yeah, and it's not just the returns as well. It's also, guys are flying down on kickoff, guys flying down on punt team. You can make a big hit. Nowadays you have what's called just a splash play or a big play that gives you that momentum, gives you that boost of energy. So therefore the faith isn't lost. So these guys will see a teammate, see somebody else in their colors make a big play, and these guys now want to follow up. So that's a good thing, and we have a good amount of guys with some decent speed and with very, very good vision and good situational awareness to know where to go to make some big things happen. Kayshawn actually last night, it was funny because me and his dad played together back in the day, and we played middle school and high school ball together. And it was funny because the ball bounced. He tried to grab it with one hand, and Kayshawn has hands like a linebacker sometimes. But so it was funny to see him snatch with one hand and take off. So he just kind of found his mesh with that a little bit. But he can do some things with some space. And some of these other guys, they definitely can do some things that other guys want to follow up on as far as, concept of big plays.
Yeah, you got some guys that can make house calls, be it in the special teams game or defense. We saw Justice Merrick an interception, Jalen Miller, and R.J. Dickerson, I think, was the other one that had one for you, Ronta Dickerson, number 15. Lastly, chance to go to 3-1, which would match the win total from a full season here in an abbreviated campaign here in 2021 in the spring. Very weird. You got Landstown coming up. They're coming off a loss, unexpected shutout loss to Kempsville. I mean, they've been a thorn in your side here, and there's a lot of respect for Coach Freeman, one of the vets in the district, along with Joe Jones at Ocean Lakes. Your thoughts on how critical that game is as you try to get in this Region 5A door? I mean, it's cliche that, hey, just playing here is a win and getting the opportunity to play, but you do want to compete and get in that door in 5A where it's so difficult with Salem and Cox and the reigning state champs and more. You got Deep Creek still unbeaten going into a matchup with Oscar Smith, and maybe the Marlins can find their way somehow to stay in that picture.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, the one thing that we want to do, we definitely don't want to just, we don't want to crawl through the door or, limp through the door. We want to basically sprint through the door and make something happen once we get in there. So, having a good practice day on Monday and figuring out, the way that we finding some clarity in our strategic approach towards Landstown will be pivotal. And then going out there and executing. riding on up the same road we just rode to the Sportsplex and just stopped 2 lights before, stop at Landstown to make some things happen. And our favor will be big. And I think that'll be that 2, if we can get that 2-game win streak, that'll help us with that momentum that we need to get rolling so we can play like we need to play. We have guys that are extremely capable, and I think they probably had some doubt me following that Cox game because they went in just thinking, okay, we have the confidence we can beat them. They don't look like XYZ, and they were. And so we utilized, we were humbled and everything like that. And I think that coming back out this way, and we were 14-0 for a little bit, versus Kellam, and we down the line pulled away a little bit and everything like that. So I think that these guys really have found a resolve and understood, especially considering the issues that we've been having since, this past summer. Our guys have really, molded and kind of gelled together a little bit better. Coach Glover, his father passed, and recently, this past Friday, but once the game started versus Cox, Aiden Pick, our middle linebacker, one of the team captains, his father passed away. Mm-hmm. So the team has really rallied around those two and just each other in general, with just the aspect of the concept of appreciating the opportunity. There's no need to slack off in this, that, and third. If I'm walking around on this planet, if I can breathe on this planet, I can see, I have all my senses, and I can do whatever I choose to do. Well, I choose to do less than what I'm able to do. So these guys have understood that concept. Anytime I throw it at them, they just get dead silent. They fully understand that, I can do more. So why do less? And I think that we realize that, yes, we've received some really good film after losing to Cox. And to look at ourselves in the mirror to say, I'm better than that. I can do this, that, and the third. So I think we have a good week starting on Monday. And it looks like some rain's coming, but we've been through worse, and we can go ahead and get rolling.
Well, the Marlins look to continue progressing as they take on Landstown coming up on Friday, March the 19th. Thank you so much, Coach. Best wishes to you and your squad. Stay safe, and I look forward to chatting with you soon.
You too, Matt. Take care. Thank you.
You bet.